This podcast is presented by Skies Magazine. If you're interested in the Canadian aviation industry, Skies is your go-to multimedia resource for the latest news, in-depth features, stunning photography, and insightful video coverage. Whether you're an aviation professional or enthusiast, Skies is dedicated to keeping you informed and bringing your passion for aviation to life. Visit skiesmag.com to learn more and subscribe to stay updated on all things Canadian aviation.
Fuel and ignition switches on. RPM switches set. TD switches normal. Doors and hatches closed. Light out. Strobe light on. Restart check is complete. Clear left. Engineers, start number 2. Starting 2. Wind 310, Pilot Project Podcast. Clear takeoff. Runway 31 left.
All right, we're ready for departure here at the Pilot Project Podcast, the best source for stories and advice from RCAF and mission aviation pilots, brought to you by Skies Magazine. I'm your host, Brian Morrison, and here with me today for the first of our two-part series on the legendary CH-124 Sea King and life at sea as a pilot is my very good friend, Captain Niels Olson. Niels, it's awesome to have you here. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So today we'll be talking about his early life training and taking a high-level look at life at sea with the Sea King. But before we go through that, let's go through Niels' bio. Captain Niels Olson was born and raised in British Columbia and grew up near CFB Chilliwack during its closure in the mid-1990s. Despite early memories of watching soldiers train and thinking that lifestyle wasn't for him, his path eventually led to military aviation. After high school, he spent a few years working and taking post-secondary courses before enrolling in the commercial pilot program at the British Columbia Institute of Technology, where he trained out of Boundary Bay and Vancouver International Airport. While he found success and enjoyment in civilian flight training, the cost and career uncertainty led him to reconsider his options. A visit from Canadian Forces Recruiting Centre, Vancouver, changed everything. After being introduced to military aviation, including videos of formation flying, low-level navigation, and survival training, and learning that he could be paid to train, Niels enrolled under the Continuing Education Officer Training Plan. He began basic military officer qualification in Saint Jean in January 2007, during a period of high operational demand driven by Canada's mission in Afghanistan. Niels began flight training in 2010 at Southport-on-the-Grove and continued directly into Phase 2 before being selected for rotary wing training. He went on to earn his wings and was posted to 443 Maritime Helicopter Squadron in Victoria, British Columbia in 2012, flying the CH-124 Sea King. During his time with 443 Squadron, Niels deployed extensively aboard Royal Canadian Navy frigates, conducting operations across the Pacific, the South China Sea, the Indian Ocean, East Africa, the Mediterranean, and beyond. He upgraded to aircraft captain and crew commander and built significant operational experience in helicopter operations. In 2018, he was posted to 3 Canadian Forces Flying Training School in Portage la Prairie, Manitoba. After completing the flying instructor course, he began instructing on the Phase 3 rotary wing course and later became qualified on the Jet Ranger. He was upgraded to an A-category instructor in 2023 and now serves in a standards role, contributing to the development of training programs and instructional standards. Niels is married to the love of his life, Lindsay, and together they have 3 wonderful children. So, you grew up near CFB Chilliwack, but initially you didn't see yourself in the military. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was like 10 years old maybe when I moved to Chilliwack, and the elementary school I went to bordered onto the CFB grounds where the PMQs were, and I had a lot of friends who were in the military. And when the base permanently closed down, there was a year where a lot of my friends were just left over the summer and didn't come back. So I found that pretty hard, and I found that tough for a kid to experience, I think, even at that time. I'm like, man, I would really suck as someone who just moved to Chilliwack to have to move constantly. That's kind of how it was explained to me at the time. There were also times where we're just walking around playing with your friends and you're up against a fence for CFB Chilliwack or up in the your Cultus Lake near the range, and you just see the guys running and marching and the flag carrying and the C7s going on kind of near the beach on the defense side of Cultus Lake. And I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is definitely not for me.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah.
And we'll get to what changed as far as that goes. But
Yeah.
you ended up spending a couple of years after high school kind of figuring things out. What did that period teach you?
Mostly I would say what I don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out of high school, BC had a program where it's called Passport to Education or something, and they would give you university, not credits, but like dollars to spend at a university from the government at the time.
Okay.
So depending on how well you did or what courses you took in high school, you would get X amount of dollars to go spend on university courses. So I did that, and I took some math and some science and some physics, and I just really didn't have any direction, or I didn't really realize like where that could have led me to a career. All I could see was physics teacher. And I was like, I don't think I want to do that either. So I had to pull back. I was working and going to school, and I just needed, I wasn't really super happy in my job, and I wasn't super happy with where my education was going. So I had to step back and reflect a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a job building windows in Abbotsford for a couple of years while I kind of sorted it out. And I landed somehow on pilot, which I thought was a good mix of, some hands and feet, tactual kind of engagement, kind of like, I loved sports, playing basketball and whatnot. So I wanted to do something hands-on, and I was working hands-on making windows, and I enjoyed that portion of it. But also making windows is not super intellectually thrilling. Like there's no dynamic environment or anything like that to adjust to. And I wanted that challenge to be both coordinated and with my body and my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I think pilot really kind of clicked all those boxes.
What led you to even consider aviation? Like, where did the idea of like, well, maybe I'll be a pilot, where'd that come from?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah.
So me and my older brother were working together in the window factory, and we were just home one day, and I was talking about how there's like, these 45, 55-year-old men working on the shop floor with us, also making somewhere between $14 and $16 an hour. And I remember telling him, like, that's not enough for the family and the life that I envision, or the life that I want. So, but I also told him I don't really want to work that hard. So we got home and we started Googling what jobs pay the most for the least amount of work, and by far it was pilot. And that's when I got the idea. I'm like, oh, you know what? Actually, that does kind of check all my boxes, and with the bonus of good pay. And once you kind of know it and you get into the routine, I could see how you just, obviously it's showing like airline pilot.
Yeah.
And no discredit to them.
No.
But it's like you just show up, your machine, your rules and your regulations, and you just you do your bit, and that's that.
Yeah, I imagine, like, again, like you said, no discredit to airline pilots, but I imagine that like once you get in and you upgrade, that's that basically, right? Like, whereas the military, you're always doing the next thing. You're always taking another course, changing aircraft types, like doing something. You're almost always upgrading to something.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did not envision military pilot at all when I was thinking about that. It was airline pilot is what I was envisioning.
Mm-hmm. So that's when you decided to apply into BCIT, right?
Yeah. They had a new program, their flight operations commercial pilot program, and it was a business diploma with a multi-engine IFR rating at the end.
Mm-hmm. So I think you said initially you applied and didn't get in, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I applied. It was an expensive course. I went through the interview process, and I just got a letter, a couple of weeks later saying, yeah, thanks for your interview. You're on the wait list.
You didn't not get in. You got waitlisted.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then like how did that feel when that happened? Were you bummed out, or was it just like not a big deal? Like was this like kind of a whim that you decided to try for, or how serious was it for you?
Well, a little bit of both, I guess. Kind of a whim, kind of coming across the opportunity. The effort I put into it was real.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through the interview process. I remember the interview. I was 19, 20 maybe, and pretty nervous talking to a panel of people. There was like 4 people on the panel, and 2 of them got up and left like halfway through my interview. Then they came back right at the very end. They're like, "Okay, thanks for your time." And I was like, "That's really weird." Okay. And then I got waitlisted, and I was like, "Oh geez, they didn't even like me. They didn't like me so much that they just got up and left."
Oh my gosh.
I have no idea why they had left. Maybe they had told me, but it didn't register as something that I knew about.
That would be pretty unsettling.
Yeah, it was. So I was like, well, maybe BCIT is not the way to go for me. Maybe I'll find another way to do it.
Mm-hmm. But then you ended up getting called for it, right?
I did. Yeah. So I was, I think, first or second on the wait list. So I guess they liked me more than I thought. And then I went, and it was good, man. I had a great time. Met some good friends, and it's cool to go through that experience together. Yeah, it was pretty neat. It was very expensive, though. Very expensive. I took out a private loan for what they estimated the tuition would be, and I ran out of money. I was running desperately short when the Vancouver recruiting guys came in.
Yeah, well, and that sort of brings us to what happened next with your path into the RCAF. So the Vancouver recruiting guys came to the college.
Yeah, and on reflection, if I was the flying club or the person in charge of the program, I would not allow the military recruiters to come in and poach my guys. But yeah, I was the only one who left, which they were kind of disappointed about. But I also told them like, hey, I'm not even sure I'm going to have enough money for this. Mm-hmm. And then you get into it, and you're kind of, your eyes are wide shut. Like you're looking for everything. You can see where it could end up as an airline pilot, and things can go well for you. But what you don't see is all the things in between where you are and where you're going. So even at the end of the program, yes, I'd have a multi-engine IFR rating with a commercial license, but that doesn't necessarily make you employable, right? You're looking at another 10 or 15,000 at the time for an instructor rating. And then you're making $9 an hour only while you're flying. So good luck making $30 a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless you can do ground school and sims and stuff. So, there was a few more years of slogging it, really.
It's a hard road. Like
it is.
I don't know how much that's changed now, because I know there's like way more hiring going on in the airline world. So
yeah, and it comes and goes, right? At the
cyclical.
time, I think that's what we were looking at. And,
yeah.
I was talking to my instructor about it, and he was quite honest. So I got some insight there.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't know actually is when I was leaving the program and I kind of had my last interview with the person in charge, is they actually had an agreement with Coast Mountain Air to hire a candidate for each, and I was on the list for that. And I was like, oh, well, I didn't know that. Maybe if I could get some sort of guarantee or what I had to do or some guidance to make sure I could achieve that, then I maybe would not have left and rolled right into Coast Mountain Air and got my hour development there flying commercial as a co-pilot or something, and skipped the instructor phase altogether,
mm-hmm.
which I probably would have done.
Yeah. Wow. So that's like a whole
But by then it was too late.
Yeah. So these recruiters came in, they showed you a bunch of like presentations and stuff. What did you find that was like pulling you? Like obviously there was a financial decision component to it, but like,
yeah,
what else pulled you into being interested in the military?
Yeah. So when they came in, we were building hours, really. So it was a lot of flights from Boundary Bay to Kamloops, Kelowna, Pitt Meadows, like up and down the Fraser Valley, over to Vancouver Island and to the BC interior. And it was a lot of straight and level, like especially once you're out of the crowded Fraser Valley, you're in Class G and you're just cruising, waiting for your next approach.
And for the listeners, Class G airspace is just low-level, uncontrolled airspace.
And, that didn't really tickle my intellectual kind of keep things moving in a changing environment sort of thing that I wanted. Other than like simulating emergencies with my other pilot, the other student pilot, or I guess private pilot at the time with me. So we were chit-chatting or whatever, but a lot of it was straight and level and kind of slow, which is not something that I wanted. It was short periods of excitement with the takeoffs and landings and the planning to get in and out of a complicated area. I enjoyed that portion of it, but not so much the straight and level, 120-mile transit doing whatever a Cessna does, 100 knots.
What were you in, like a 172 or?
A 152 or like a Piper or was it a Cherokee?
Okay, yeah. So like 100 knots or something.
Yeah. So when the guys came in, they were showing videos of, some low-level navigation, which I thought was a lot more interesting than the private pilot kind of couple 1,000-foot navigation, formation flying, and all the extra training and things that they do. And I really was like, well, that is more, you have to pay attention all the time. And that's what I wanted.
Yeah, it's like exciting too, right? Like when you're, and it is, I was going to say from the outside looking in, but it is when you're doing it too. But I don't know if you were like me, it sounds a bit like you were like that desire for some variety and for something exciting and not just like run of the mill experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Something exciting and constantly engaging. That spoke to me more.
So when you joined under CEOTP, which is the Continuing Education Officer Training Plan, Canada was running high tempo operations in Afghanistan. Did that weigh into your decision to join at all?
Not really. It was a big part of the interview and recruitment process, making sure that we understood, or I understood what that meant, and possibly being deployed to a war zone. So yeah, we talked about it a lot. It was mostly like, hey, I understand what's happening, and I'm not going out with a gun looking to hurt people or anything like that. But if it's me or them, or they're attacking me, what you got to do.
Yeah. So they were basically like making sure you understood the realities of the situation, and that they weren't going to like train somebody, spend millions of dollars training them, and then find out that, wait, what? There's a
he's just trigger happy, and
or that like the person is shocked there's a war on or something. Like,
I'm going where?
Yeah.
They were very good with that.
So you joined, you went to basic training, you did some French language training afterwards, and then you ended up on OJT at 443 Squadron in Victoria. Did that influence you to want to fly Sea Kings?
Yeah, it did. I did still imagine myself as a fixed wing pilot just because it's what I knew with my previous training. The helicopter experience, like I didn't get to fly when I was on OJT as a passenger or anything like that. So I didn't really know about helicopters or what was unique about them. But I did really like the unit, and it was about as close to home as I could get. So I enjoyed that aspect, and I wanted to go back there just for some stability and to be closer, or at least accessible to my family.
Yeah. And that's funny to hear you say that you thought of yourself as a fixed wing pilot, because like now you're very much a helicopter guy, right? Like, like a lot of you helicopter pilots that I've spoken with, like the idea of being a multi-pilot and just like taking off and then going straight and level sounds like for most of you it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
So,
it sounds like punishment.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you did go on phase 1 and phase 2 on the Grove here in Portage.
Yeah. The Grove program had just opened up, and I think I was maybe the 3rd or 4th course on it. Yeah. And it was, at the time, it was maybe like 8 to 12 months faster course loading, which has pretty big impact on your career, right? So I jumped all over it. Yeah.
Yeah. For listeners, for context, like basically, like, what year was that for you?
That was 2010.
Yeah, which is right when I was also waiting for training, and I ended up going to Moose Jaw, and it was like it was a brutal time. We've mentioned this a couple of times on the show before, but basically, like, there was this website where you could check your course loading for flight training, and like you would just constantly see those courses getting zero loaded and your date pushing back like another 6 months,
Yeah.
another 6 months. And so some people who were able to get on the phase 2 Grow program, they would just go basically straight from phase 1 to phase 2 instead of wait. Like some people waited years between those courses.
Yeah, I waited only a couple months.
Yeah, which is pretty sweet. How did you find flying the Grove after like just flying Cessnas and stuff before?
Oh yeah, to me it felt like a high performance aircraft.
Well,
And it
is.
is. Yes, it does all the tricks, all the loops and the inverted flight, and it was way more powerful than the Cessna, which was a cool feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Did you find it challenging at all? Like you had done a little bit of flight training, well, a decent amount of flight training in the civilian world. So like, how did you find that in comparison?
I found it. I was well prepared for the course and what the aircraft could do. The hardest part, or actually, I suppose what caused me the most anxiety, is that even going through basic training and French language school, like you talk to other pilots who maybe know people in the Air Force, and I didn't know anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear all these stories, even at that young age, about people joining the Air Force with a commercial license or as airline pilots and having a very hard time, or not making it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I was conscious of that. Even talking to those pilots who came to my program to talk to us about military flying, they had warned me already that they knew people who had finished a program like the one I was in, skip phase 1 on the Grove, go directly to Moose Jaw and not pass. And that costs you like 2 to 3 years of development, right?
Mm-hmm.
And progress that you could have otherwise been making. So I was very conscious of that. So I didn't get my commercial license on purpose at the BCIT program. And the biggest point of anxiety was making sure that I did things the way that the military wanted me to do them,
Mm-hmm.
not the way that I had previously learned.
Which to me says a lot about like that you took the right thing out of those stories, as like kind of listening to them as cautionary tales. Like I had a lot of people say that kind of stuff to me as well, having gone through a flight program. I would imagine the problem that most of those people that you hear those stories about are basically that they were set in their ways and they refused to learn it a new way. Like I can see a certain type of airline pilot, not specifically related to them being an airline pilot, but just an experienced pilot being like, I know how to do this. I know how I do this. I'm going to do it my way. And that's just not how military flight training works. Like there's certain room for technique and like differences, but like there's certain things that are like, this is how the Air Force does it.
Yes. Yeah. And I knew that was coming. And it could just be something simple like the way you make your OEI or complete engine failure approach, or the way you navigate. Most of those guys would probably be mostly IFR pilots. So that's probably the part that they were looking forward to shine and show what they know. But I know there's a lot of VFR flying in the Air Force,
Mm-hmm.
and they are pretty strict with their techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's OEI?
One engine and operative.
Oh, for like multi and stuff?
Yes, like a multi-engine OEI approach, or like on a single engine machine, like an engine failure approach.
Yeah.
Or how they brake over the runway, or
Okay, gotcha.
if you S-turn or side slip or whatever to get down,
Mm-hmm.
adjust your glide path. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like the military just has generally speaking, preferred techniques and procedures, and like, well, I think it would be the same if you went to an airline, right? Like I hear that airlines are extremely procedure driven, and that like you better do it the company's way, and it's just the same thing when you go to the Air Force.
Yeah.
You had been thinking about yourself as a fixed wing pilot, and obviously multi-engines, since you were going through phase 2 Grobe, and that doesn't feed into the fighter stream. At what point did you start to realize you wanted to fly helicopters?
It was during phase 2 and talking to some of the other multi-engine students about what it is that they're doing, where they're going, what that flight is like, and talking to some helicopter guys. I knew helicopters would pose a unique challenge, and I wanted to challenge myself. So that was, part of my impetus to joining
Mm-hmm.
is to remain challenged. And I wanted to go back to 443. I like the unit. I like the location. There's a lot to like about it.
Mm-hmm.
The Sea King was a really awesome machine. So I really enjoyed my time on it. And I thought I would. So that was great. It worked out.
Yeah.
What I wasn't ready for was probably how big of a challenge it was, because I was well prepared for the single engine fixed wing flying. I was not prepared at all for helicopter flying.
I don't see how you could be, to be honest.
No, no, it's a pretty unique skill, and it's expensive to train on your own privately. So
Yeah.
no, I didn't get a flight. The first time in a helicopter was on the course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I remember you saying that kind of sparks memories of me being, because we were in the school at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You were the one that people I talked to about multi-engine.
Oh,
flying.
really?
Yeah.
That's so funny. And I
So
scared you away.
guided me away from it. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I remember talking to some of my colleagues who I had gone through Moose Jaw with, who had gone helo, and just hearing about like beginning phase 3 multi-engine is really not that stressful. Like it's just a natural evolution to what you've already learned.
Mm-hmm.
The guys and girls who had gone on to rotary were like, they weren't like, you know, freaking out, but they were like, holy cow, like this is a whole new world. We don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like everything is new again.
Yeah. There was a part of me too that maybe I should include, is that for me, returning to Victoria was like number one on my list. And I knew that if I went Auroras or Hercs or something, that eventually I would be flying over Victoria, and I would look out the window and just think, if I had only tried, I could have done that.
Mm-hmm.
So at the top of my list was returning there and flying the Sea King on the West Coast. And then I guess that would be my number one choice. And then below that was essentially any multi-fleet. And then down below anything multi would be like search and rescue helicopter. And then the very, very bottom would be TACHEL.
Okay.
So it was quite the gamble.
Yeah, that was a risk. So basically,
Yeah.
because most people would be going TACHEL, and then probably, I don't know, were more people going SAR or Sea Kings?
It was probably like 25%, and
Okay.
50 TACHEL.
Yeah. So that was a gamble for sure.
Yeah.
And at the time in the helo school, there was like a ton of failures happening.
Yes, there was. And I wasn't super aware of that when I was on the phase 2 course, because you're kind of somewhat isolated. And I was posted there too. So I wasn't ever in the shacks with other students like with you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't eat at the mess. I had my own meals at home, and I went home every day. So there was a lot of integration that I didn't experience as well. So I missed out on a bunch of that stuff. And that's a pretty big point to kind of miss out on. The fact that the majority of students were failing the helicopter course at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was quite stressful, especially like I topped my phase 2 course. So I got to pick, and I chose helicopter. And then getting in the machine, like after ground school, like super complicated, then in the machine and picking it up and having some pretty significant difficulty on reflection, I was full of regrets.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Big time. Well, because it was like 6 years in at that point.
Yeah.
Right? So the delay was even longer than I anticipated when I went through the recruiting process. And I did well throughout my training. And if you fail the helicopter course, like that's it. You don't get to go multi after. Like jets was out of the question. But if you failed jets, like off you go.
Yeah.
join.
Sometimes you get a second chance if they basically decide like, well, you're a good pilot, but jets aren't for you.
Yeah, exactly. So you could go to multi or to helicopter, but that doesn't reverse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you did end up though getting through phase 3.
I did. Yeah.
And you were selected to go on the Sea King. So how did that feel to have kind of all your plans come to fruition and posted, of course, to 443?
Oh, like monumental relief.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like I was so stressed, having a hard time. Like once we got to the IFR portion on the 412, I felt pretty at home.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very transferable skill across aircraft. So I knew I would do well, and my night portion on NVGs went pretty smooth. I felt like I got it by that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then going to 443 and getting posted and just being done and getting the wings and the security, because it was 5 or 6 years of training. So I joined in 2007, got wings in mid 2012. So we had 5.5 years of effort. It was just such a release of stress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My body just like shut down after I got so sick. And I was just kind of hanging on. Like, I guess the level of stress and the run up through the last bit of phase 3 was so stressful that I was just holding on to everything. And then as soon as it was over, it just, a big release and my body relaxed, and then just everything kind of came up, and I was quite ill for a bit.
Actually, the exact same thing happened to me.
Yeah.
So you ended up back at 443 Squadron. What was it like to get back there as a winged pilot after being there on OJT?
Again, it's like after being on OJT, like the OJT there was, I wasn't involved in the flight operations. So I still a little bit of some unknowns there, about what the deployments looked like, what was required of air crew, how you operate the machine and all that stuff. So all that was new again. And there were some challenges, of course. I still had a little bit. I think I had 6 months wait for the OTU. So I was able to do some OPME courses, residential, and get some professional development stuff done before going into onto the OTU.
Yeah, and OPMEs were 6 courses that officers used to have to take. 2 of them were just like small courses, and 4 of them were university credits. Now they've been replaced by, I think they're called CAF JODs. Is that right?
Yes.
And they're not university credits anymore, I don't believe. But anyway, that's what OPMEs are. Before we kind of dive, like in part 2, we're going to dive in deeper into your actual sales with the Canadian Navy. Let's talk kind of like high level about life on Sea Kings, life on ships. What was the training like getting qualified on the Sea King?
Like at the OTU?
Yeah.
It was long.
Yeah.
The serviceability at 12 wing was not so great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fleet was so old by then.
The fleet was old. They had a lot of commitments for the aircraft that they did have. And then the OTU training slots were fewer than I anticipated. And there were 4 of us on the course. So yeah, we were kind of given the scraps. So it took a lot longer than I imagined it would.
How long was the course?
Let's see. I got there in January. I think I left in July. So
okay, so 7 months.
7 months. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a while.
Yeah, for not a whole lot of hours.
How was the actual flying?
Oh, it was a great machine. The instructors, like, they would change every day. It's not like how we had it in Portage, where you'd get assigned an instructor. It was just whoever was available. So there's a lot of trying to figure out this new guy or girl teaching you how to fly, and what their personal expectations were. The flying portion was like the VFR stuff was pretty cut and paste, like very similar techniques and procedures as to what Southport did, or 3CFFTS. And the IFR, very transferable as well. But then the tactical low level over the water stuff was all brand new.
Yeah. Was that intimidating at first?
It was a little eerie being, 20, 30 miles off the coast of Nova Scotia, I'd never seen the Atlantic Ocean before. I just knew it was windy and cold and, you know, big waves. And you're right there. Like
Yeah.
you can't see the shoreline anymore at 40 feet hovering, and you just look down like that's a lot of water, and it's, you know, it's super cold out there, and you're putting a lot of trust in the Sea King to take you there, do your job, and take you back.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because, you know, we'd go like 1,000 miles out over the ocean in the Aurora, and I would get a little bit of that feeling sometimes, like especially when we're down low, and just think like, man, we're a long way from anything if anything went wrong. But like, I think that 1,000 miles out in an Aurora is almost like probably less freaky than 40 miles out in a Sea King.
Well, I mean, they're both, either way, you're in the middle of nowhere, I guess.
But I had so much more altitude. And
the helicopter, like you're right in it. Like you got sea spray coming up on your windscreen.
Yeah.
You can look down and see individual pieces of seaweed.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. You're right there. It can be a little intimidating at the start.
Do you learn to land on ships as part of the course?
No, that is only done after, when you're on your deployments.
When you're like actually qualified on the aircraft.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I thought was a pretty big gap in the training, but it's just the way it was.
Yeah, and I guess like ship availability and all kinds of things would play roles in that, right?
Oh yeah, big time.
Like it's not like there's always a ship out in the ocean, like they're in harbor a lot of the time. And
yeah, and when they're out working.
Yeah, with a qualified crew.
Yeah. They're not there for your training.
Yeah. So sometimes on the Sea King, you are at squadron, and sometimes you're assigned to a ship, right?
Yep.
How is life different between those two things?
Well, so life at the unit is pretty good. It's a regular kind of workday shift. You know, there's night flying and whatnot, and taskings to do, and those sorts of things. But generally pretty predictable. The serviceability on the West Coast was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We always had aircraft available. Almost always had aircraft available. Sometimes more than we could fly, which was a great problem to have. So life at the unit was pretty good. It changed when you were deployed, because now you're detached from the unit and you are a standalone Sea King with crew and maintainers, and you got what you got. So the Sea King was great. Like, it loved to fly. If you flew it every day, it would maintain the serviceability with a lot of work from the maintainer crew. But when it went down and you needed a part, like you're in the middle of the ocean waiting for that part.
How do you get the parts?
They're usually mailed to the next port of call.
Okay. So like if you broke and you still had a week or two to transit, like there's no flying for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, correct. Sometimes you could get a deviation approved or whatever, depending on the nature of the unserviceability.
Yeah.
Or the defect. But yeah, there were quite a few times where you're just stuck. You're just waiting for a new rotor blade or, a bearing or whatever it happens to be.
And what are you guys doing then? Like, if there's no flying to be done, what are you doing on a ship? Like, do they have you doing professional development or studying systems or like?
Yeah. I mean, the Sea King guys, like someone explained to me one time that the flying is pretty straightforward, especially when you're deployed. Like, you're either doing surface surveillance or you're doing ASW.
And for the listeners, ASW is anti-submarine warfare.
So you get pretty good at both of those, and neither one is super engaging as a pilot, unless you're night dipping or something, which can get pretty spicy. But
when Sea Kings or other anti-submarine warfare helicopters are in the dip, it means that they have a large ball that they dip down into the ocean, which works like a large sonobuoy that pings with sonar to try to locate submarines.
In general, they're all pretty good pilots. So what differentiated pilots was their knowledge of the orders and the systems and all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of emphasis on that.
Yeah.
So as soon as we went down, we would develop a training plan for each individual aircrew member, because I was just on the aircrew side. So we'd be briefing aircraft systems, orders, things like that, explaining things, aerodynamics, all that kind of stuff. So we had to kind of do that stuff just to maintain some level of employment while on the ship. And it would typically be like, a half day of that kind of stuff. And the rest of the day would be, working out, getting some physical activity in, and then helping out the ship wherever we can, which mostly ended up working with the stewards, who we were pretty close with. They're the ones who would bring the meals out in the officers' mess, make breakfast, that kind of stuff. So we would volunteer to make breakfast.
Oh, okay.
For the ship's crew. The junior ranks would go down to the junior ranks. The chief and the sergeant would go down to the chief petty officer's mess, and then we would serve the officers. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Stuff like that, just to integrate into the ship a bit more.
Be part of the crew a little bit.
Yeah, because we're kind of guests there. Like at the time, having an air asset or a helicopter on board was a unique situation for the Navy at the time. So we were not there for every one of their sales. We were only there for the big ones.
Okay.
Yeah. So integrating into the ship was a big part of what we tried to do.
How does the process of getting assigned to a ship actually work? Like, how does that happen?
Being assigned to a ship?
Yeah.
You're told.
They just, one day they walk in and they're like, you're on the HMCS Ottawa, or?
No, there's definitely some long-term planning going ahead. Because you can't just take anyone and drop them in. They have to be ready. There's a whole bunch of currencies. There's sims, there's workups, there's all sorts of preparation that goes into the deployment.
So like typically how far before a sail would you know that you're going on one?
6 months,
yeah,
usually. Yeah. They'd like to have the crew assigned about 6 months ahead of time.
Yeah. And then you can do all your workup training and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. All your if you do, there's probably like a pre-sale you could do with the ship for whatever reason. Just going out while they're doing their exercises, you can join the ship to reintroduce the helicopter aspect to the ship's company. And then as the air crew, we would fly out to Halifax, get our sims in, then we come back, join the ship again, do their workup training, or sometimes that would be en route to the deployment. There's a lot to do for sure.
Okay. And when the ship leaves, is the Sea King on board, like out of the harbor, or do you fly out and join them out at sea, or like how does that work?
Oh, we would join them in the strait. Yeah, in the Juan de Fuca.
Okay, so you guys wouldn't be like standing on the side of the ship as it pulls out of harbor or whatever?
Half the crew is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so all the ground, well, not all the ground crew, most of the maintainers and half the air crew would be on the ship for slipping.
Okay.
And they would sail out into the Juan de Fuca Strait, and then we would land on, and that would be that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So you've told me this before, but can you explain how everything gets on the ship before a long sail?
Oh, like you just carry it.
Yeah, like everything, right?
Everything.
Like, didn't you say you basically just form a big line?
So the initial departure, we're not really there for it.
Okay.
For the storing of the ship. It's usually like while we're at port visiting somewhere where we're there, we're part of the ship's company, so we're more involved in that. For pre-departure stuff, like we had paper maps. So I would go down to the ship and I would pull out this cabinet that was on the ground, and it was probably like 7 feet long, and it was just full of paper maps. And I'd have to catalog them all, make sure we have everything, and then everything is carried over. And it was a long walk from the parking lot to the ship. So there was quite a few 3-kilometer walks from your car, carrying a box of maps over to the boat, and then making sure they're all kind of set up. But while we're at sea and we'll pull into wherever, like Manila or something, and then we have a couple of weeks of garbage to get rid of. So the whole ship's company would get in a line from where the garbage is stored all the way to the dumpsters, and then we would just daisy chain it. It's just handing bags of garbage over, getting rid of that stuff, and then the food would come. And sometimes they would crane it onto the flight deck. Other times it would be down on the jetty, and we would have to do the same thing. But we're moving 500 watermelons and gallons and gallons of milk and eggs and all the fruit and veggies and all that kind of stuff, just piece by piece. You got to look at everything that we have on the ship, and then when you don't see it later in the officer's mess, you got to shake your fist a little bit. Like I moved so many avocados. Where are they?
How long does that process take?
Oh, it could be a couple hours, and it's hot.
Just like a couple hours straight of just moving food onto the ship.
Garbage, and all the recycling was. We would melt it down into these pucks.
Yeah.
So you got like, I don't know how many milk jugs would be in a puck, but it was like maybe 12-inch puck. It's like maybe an inch thick. So how many milk jugs would melt into that? I have no idea, but it was a stinky process.
That's crazy that you guys spend that long. Like, I can't imagine hours in Manila in the heat and humidity.
Yeah.
Just unloading garbage and then loading up food. Like, that's got to be quite a process.
Yeah. Every port stopper doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Really. Yeah.
What surprised you most about life on board a ship early on?
Geez, it was full of surprises.
Tell me a few of them.
The complexity of the operations, the naval chain of command, and how it operated. Because we're, as the Air Force, like pretty decentralized. Like, we'll get our mission authority, and then as the individual AC, like you're off you go complete your mission. But on the ship, it's like, every step of the way is kind of approved by the captain. It's his ship, just like if we were the aircraft captain of our vessel, or the Aurora to paint it for you. Like, and you have 200 people back there, all of them working, and they each want to turn or they want to do whatever. Like, it's got to go through you, right? So at the time, being introduced to that is kind of frustrating, because you're like, well, why don't you just let me do my job? But in hindsight, you kind of realize that, there's a chain of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just keep turning the ship to do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's I think it's easy to draw initial parallels between like controlling a ship and controlling an aircraft, but they're like very different scales of operation.
Yeah. One of the biggest hurdles, I guess, that we had to overcome was ensuring the Navy knew that we were professional in what we did. Throughout their training, like their ORO or the ops room officer training, and the Mars training that they do, was obviously very Navy focused, but they did have air assets in their training. I think one of the big problems was that the air asset was always like the pilot in charge, kind of almost like Top Gun-ish. I know how to do it better. I'm doing it my way, and I'm not listening to you. So they were always like almost detrimental to the progress of the ship, and you had to be very firm with them throughout their training, and you don't trust what they're doing. You're always double checking everything that the air asset is doing, whether it's fixed wing or rotary tipping. And that they brought that into their operational mindset. So they were very, very tight control. They wanted very, very tight control of the helicopter. And they would have very tight control over their rib and their Zodiac, like the smaller vessels that would leave the ship. But, we spend years and years training,
mm-hmm.
and we practice this stuff all the time. And it was kind of challenging sometimes to get that trust between the ship's company and the aircrew.
Yeah. We got even a taste of that sometimes as the Aurora when we'd work with a ship, just like finding that it took a little bit of practice to sort of work out a relationship of trust and like understanding each other's capabilities.
Yeah.
Because like I'm not an expert on ships and what they can do, and they're not an expert on what the Aurora can do. Like they get a splash of training on it, but like unless they've done a ton of work with air assets in the real world, they don't necessarily know what to expect.
Yeah, exactly. We do it so infrequently that, and every time that they do it is with a new crew
mm-hmm.
as well, right? So we're trained the same, but we're not interchangeable.
Mm-hmm. What's the weirdest part of living on a ship?
The weirdest part?
Yeah.
Groundhog Day, I guess, if you know the movie,
mm-hmm.
is pretty rigid once you get into your flow, and every day is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. You wake up, we breakfast, you fly, hot fuel, crew change, get down, late lunch, and then it's workout, study, dinner, hang out, play games, whatever, just some relaxed time. And then you go to bed and it's the same thing the next day. So the days of the week don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
The weekend doesn't matter.
Do you get days off?
No,
No.
your days off are alongside.
Okay.
So your work week could be like, 20, 30, 40, 50 days long.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does that get tiring, or do you just fall into a rhythm?
Both, really. There are moments where you're like, oh man, again, like when is this gonna end? I just want to see a tree.
Yeah.
Something green. But then the repeatability and continuity of it all, it really kind of blends all together. So like in the moment, you're kind of a little bit like, oh, this is so repetitive and feels like it's taking forever. But then you reflect on like the last week, and it all kind of blends together. So your memory is kind of like, what day was that we did this? And then the days just kind of tick by pretty quick.
Yeah. It's kind of sounds a lot very similar to the experience of deploying in a base in the Middle East. Like where at the time we weren't leaving the base at all. So like same thing, you do the same thing every day, and all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, it's been a month. Like
there are times where like you just really want to stretch your legs and go for a good walk. This ship is like 200 feet long.
That must be really hard, like to be able to only go a couple hundred feet in like one direction, and that's it. That must like get a little stir crazy.
It's not like an unimpeded area either. Like there's doorways and breezeways and
it's not like there's a walking track.
The walking track is a flight deck, and it's like, if you're long pace jogger, it's like 8 steps maybe before you're turning 90 degrees.
And do people go jogging around it?
Oh yeah, and you get dizzy. Yeah,
you're like on a hamster wheel almost. That's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. You really have to want to do it.
Yeah. How does food and quality of life change over a long sail?
Oh, right. Yeah, good question. So we talked a little bit about bringing the food on board, and I mentioned the avocados, watermelon, potatoes, carrots, all the regular type foods that are fresh, boxes and boxes of lettuce. That food is usually eaten like right away.
Mm-hmm.
We'll eat well, fresh food for however much food we stored is like what we're using. And then we get into like a medium kind of, I don't know how many days it would be. Depends on how much food we brought on, right? Kind of like a medium pace where we're starting to bring out the frozen goods. Sometimes it would be steak.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you got frozen steaks? So bring them out. We'll serve them up. Lots of frozen dairy, that kind of stuff. And then even that stuff starts to run a little bit low. And then you get into like the preserves. There was a time between, I think we had 47 days at sea. And that 47th day was just like an afternoon stop in Djibouti. And then it was like 5 or 6 more days before we got alongside in Greece. And so that afternoon stop, like we didn't get a lot of food. It was just a couple of days worth, and not everybody was allowed off the boat. So I don't even know what day it was because it's Groundhog Day. I will say like day 30 or something. And we were 47 days at sea. They started bringing in like the canned beans, the wax beans, things I have never even had in my life that are like, 30 cents a can.
Yeah.
And, there was a breakfast, they would pull out, we were out of eggs, I think. And they would pull out hot dogs, like cut up hot dog chunks and serve it in a salad bowl with mayonnaise. And it just looked and smelled so gross. And then obviously like no one would touch it at breakfast, and then it would go away. And then at lunch it's there. And then it goes away, and that same untouched bowl of hot dogs is there at dinner again. You're like, what is with this hot dog salad? Why do they keep trying to make us eat it? And then the next day, like the Navy does soup at 10 o'clock in the morning. and it would just be like hot dog soup the next day.
Oh
Like,
my
I
gosh.
know this is the hot dog salad
Yeah.
with the mayonnaise like rinsed off or something, put back into a soup.
Oh my gosh. That's brutal.
So it got long, and you develop a taste for canned beans.
Yeah. I imagine that your first good meal after that is pretty nice.
Oh yeah, like you go alongside somewhere, and if you're not on duty, then you're out at a restaurant with your buddies, and
Yeah.
you're having a nice meal for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That must
definitely.
be awesome.
Yeah, there was a lot of big thanks to Lindsay for sending me boxes and boxes of food, granola bars and trail mix, protein bars, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did your training on the Sea King, and it was like a pretty crazy time of life. Like just before you went to the OTU, you met your now wife, Lindsay.
Yep.
A couple months before.
Yeah.
And then you go to the OTU for 7 months.
Yep.
You come back and immediately find out that you're posted to HMCS Ottawa and that you're going to deploy.
Yeah.
So how did that all go?
Well, she had some challenges with that, accepting that that's what it was going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay and I met, and I was head over heels for her. So she had let slip that she wants to like always be together like daily. And that's really important to her. And I was like, oh boy, this might not work. So I started like, hey, you know what? It was a couple weeks into our relationship, and I was like, I got to go away in January for a little bit. And she's just like, well, how long? Oh, I don't know if I could do this, if it's worth it. And I was like, oh no. I was like, it's not long. Don't worry. It's like a couple weeks. And she's like, a couple weeks. Oh. I was like, oh no. So every time, every couple of days I'd bring it up, and the time would just get longer and longer until I was like, yeah, it's going to be like 6 months. But I brought her out for a visit when I was on the OTU, and we drove around Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. We had a great time.
That's awesome.
We were definitely looking forward to being back together because, there's a 4-hour time difference. So there were a lot of late night, Skype calls back then?
Yeah.
Where I was up till like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then getting up to fly the next day, which was not good, but
also
serviceability was bad. So 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
Had to keep my relationship alive, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And when the course was over, I was looking forward to just flying back commercial and getting back as quick as I can. And then they told me I was flying a Sea King across the country, and it would take a week. I was like, oh man, again, like I just want to stop. Like, can I just fly home, please? They weren't interested in that. I took the Sea King, which on reflection is a great opportunity.
Oh, for sure.
I was just not I didn't want it at the time.
Yeah, you just felt done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got back, I took some leave, and then I got called off leave. Phone rang while I was napping and told to pack my bags. I had like 3 days notice, I think, to like get a list of things I needed from someone, pick up some aircraft parts and bring them down and I think it was a 3 or 4 month deployment. And that was a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
After getting back and getting delayed coming back and then leaving again right away.
Like how long were you home for?
I don't even know. 10 days maybe.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So how did you break that news to Lindsay?
By that point, I was like, it's just the truth.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do. It's happening.
Yeah.
She was supportive. It's the way that things were going to be. So, the follow-on deployments, she had just moved into my condo because I owned a condo and she was renting. I was like, why don't you just stay here? Like, I'm paying for it. I'm never there. Why would you waste all your money on rent? Just go live there. Yeah, that was tough. That first deployment was pretty rough.
Yeah, you said that after the first sail, you didn't want to be a maritime helicopter pilot anymore.
Yeah.
Why was that?
So even though like I went through naval environmental training, did the Sea King OTU, you're not really prepared for life at sea. And the pace of operations and the the crew you have really does make a big difference. And in general, we had a good crew. The challenge was kind of at the leadership level, where it was like no mercy. You might as well have been on, basic training, full metal jacket style.
Mm-hmm.
It was tough.
Pretty strict style of leadership and discipline.
Yeah, and a lot of your training is like, hey man, like you're going to be out there. You need to be able to make these decisions, and you have years and years of this kind of mindset, and then you get to the spot where you're like, okay, I can finally start employing these things, and taking responsibility for it, and it's just like right back to basic training.
Yeah, like you've been told for years, like you're an adult now.
Yeah,
you need to learn to make decisions and operate, and
and it is just completely gone.
Yeah,
and our deck commander was stressed.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple of junior guys, myself being so new, I didn't even know where the bathroom was.
Yeah.
And another junior co-pilot, also kind of only had a few months on the unit, and it was tough, and it probably wasn't handled the best. And there were quite a few people who left the Air Force after that sail.
Oh, wow.
And I was ready. I was like, if this is what it's like this is not for me.
Yeah.
This is not how it was sold to me.
Yeah. So it was a big shock.
It was huge.
Yeah.
So I had a meeting with the CO about maybe switching or finding something else to do. And he encouraged me to be patient. And that there were plans for me and whatever. And we got out. I switched debts almost immediately as I came out of that. And what I really wanted was just some time with Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
It must have been like 3 months, because I got back from that sail, switched debts, went straight out again, back to Halifax, back for Sims, another quick sail, back to Halifax again, Christmas leave, and then sailed. Then that one I left in January and came back in September.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know why she stuck around. But that second sail, that second debt, that long one, it was great, and I needed that.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the nice thing is your first sail, you felt done, but by the end of your second sail, you were actually enjoying life as a maritime helicopter pilot.
Yeah. We had a tight crew. We were all close. We had a great deck commander, and we had some purpose. I felt involved, and we switched from Op Artemis to Task Force Neo in the Mediterranean, and it was just nice to be involved, and really feel like you're contributing.
So I just have a couple more general questions about kind of life at sea. You've already mentioned that the longest you went without seeing land was 47 days. Like,
yeah,
you were out in the ocean 47 days, you never saw land. What is that like mentally?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like, you got to stick with your rhythm. You got to keep a positive attitude and talk to the guys. There's always going to be quiet times where you're kind of on the flight deck in the evening. The sun's going down. It's beautiful out. It's like 30 something degrees. It's warm. The water is warm. The air is warm. Everything is nice. The sky is blue. But you're just hoping to see an island or something around. But just taking it one day at a time and keeping it all kind of in perspective. Like, this is work, is what it is. And your weekends will come, and the weekend, when it does come, is usually pretty good.
Yeah.
You're in a new place, lots to explore, new tastes. You really get some time to explore the areas that you're coming alongside in.
Mm-hmm. So you just kind of remind yourself, like, this is going to be worth it, and this will end.
Yes. Now it's different when you're grounded, because if you run out of things to do, like run out of training and run out of breakfast to make and things like that, then it can start to feel like a bit of a floating prison.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Do you see other ships at all when you're doing that?
Occasionally, yeah.
Yeah, so at least you can remember the world is still out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We'll see cargo ships all the time on our surface surveillance trips and whatnot. Like, we're lucky being in the helicopter crew, like
You kind of get to escape a little bit.
you do. Yeah. It's a couple hours out, breathing some fresh air. As fresh air as a Sea King can produce.
Yeah.
and seeing other ships and other life. Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to ask you about is some of the crazy landings you guys do, like at night, rough seas. What is that like?
Oh, yeah. So in general, Sea King flying was pretty predictable, especially when you're doing like the counter narcotic stuff. Like it's all above surface stuff. So you're flying along and you're just getting a good picture of the area around the ship, right? The night flying and teaching someone who's never done it before is where, you still get a bit of a pucker factor. So you do like autopilot off, hydraulic off landings at night. You're connected to the hull down system for that, which is nice. But you do like night cross cockpit on NVG, stoke guideline transfers with someone who's never done it before, and you're trying to look over their shoulder and you just get the odd glimpse of the boat. There's no horizon. It's kind of like docking the spacecraft, like into the ISS or something. Like you just don't know which way is up. If you're moving or if the boat is moving or what's going on. It takes it can be stressful.
That's got to be seriously frightening at times.
Yeah. And we did it like intermittently too, right? So it's not like you're practicing it every day, but you fly a week of nights or something and you get into the groove. We're all pretty short on hours compared to the fleet when it was kind of born.
Yeah.
I guess
when it was like at its
peak, like, there's 12 helicopters on, 6 ships and they're always going and you're flying 2 or 3 times a day, building thousands of hours. Like you essentially live in the thing. And then we go like, okay, your YFR is down, serviceability is down. And you have to attain these skills with limited time and availability. But once you get it, it's a real hands-on kind of, it's all control linkages and hydraulic pistons, and you get a lot of feedback from the machine, and it is it really speaks to you once you learn its language.
It sounds like a real pilot's machine.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that part of it. Yeah. Even coming back to something like the 412, which does give you quite a bit of feedback, it was nothing like the Sea King. Like you could really become one with it. Yeah.
And Niels mentioned the YFR there. That's yearly flying rate, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically the year's budget for hours.
That's right.
I know that I said that was the last question. I actually have one more small question.
Yeah.
What kind of person do you think is well suited to fly in the maritime helicopter world?
I kind of mentioned earlier that the time at sea is work time. And there are nights on the boat where you're like, God, this couldn't be any worse. And then I kind of lay my head on my pillow in my bed, in my own little private area, knowing that there's a warm breakfast for me waiting in the morning. And I think, well, at least I'm not sleeping in a ditch. Could be worse. I could be TACL. And even then, it's like you're in the field and you're eating IMPs and you're bugging out and doing whatever. And even in your SAR, and like you're on a 6-day search and rescue mission going through moderate ice and hurricane force winds and all. Like, no matter what you do, the work is going to be hard work. It takes different forms. So, integrate with the crew, with your air crew and with the ship's company, make friends, work hard when it's time to work. And then your time off, especially when you're deployed on a ship, it's like, enjoy your time off in Manila, enjoy your time off in Greece or Spain or wherever it is you're going. There's lots to see and do. And your weekends are not like weekends at home, like you have a real opportunity to see and experience new things.
Awesome. All right, man. That is going to wrap up part 1. It was really cool to, Nils and I have been friends for years, really close friends for years. And I learned a lot today about your life and kind of what got you to where you are today. So that was really fun. And I am really, really looking forward to diving in deep to some of the sales you did with the Royal Canadian Navy in the next episode. So thanks again for being here today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Brian.
All right, that wraps up part one of our two-part series on a classic, iconic aircraft, the CH-124 Sea King. Tune in next week as we sit back down with my good buddy, Captain Niels Olson, to talk all about his adventures around the world, sailing and flying with the Royal Canadian Navy. Do you have any questions or comments about anything you've heard in this show? Would you or someone you know make a great guest, or do you have a great idea for a show? You can reach out to us at thepilotprojectpodcast@gmail.com or on all social media at @podpilotproject. And be sure to check out that social media for lots of great videos of our RCAF and mission aviation aircraft. As always, we'd like to thank you for tuning in and ask for your help with the big three. That's like and follow us on social media, share with your friends, and follow and rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts. That's all for now. Thanks for listening. Keep the blue side up. See ya!
Engineer, shut down all 4. Shutting down all 4 engines.